We love a sweet sauce. Firefly was cancelled almost 20 years ago. We love a little something spicy. But even after a movie, comic books, and a certain creator's fall from grace, there are still loyal browncoats who long for more content. Firefly had a brief run on Fox before finding an audience on DVD. But when the two flavors come together, it's absolutely perfect. That's why we love sweet chili sauce so much. It really is the best of both worlds. It made cult legends out of its stars Nathan Fillion, Castle, Gina Torres, Suits, Alan Tudyk, Moana, Morena Baccarin, Gotham, and even recurring guest star Christina Hendricks, Mad Men. Given what a cult favorite the show has become in the years since, it's worth remembering that Fox pulled the plug on Firefly before even the first season's episodes had all run. While you can always buy it at your local grocery store or Asian market, you may not have realized that you can easily make it at home. One great thing about making this sauce in your own kitchen, besides the fact that it's bound to be much cheaper than buying a store-bought version, is that you can customize it to suit your own tastes. Recipe developer Susan Oleinka, who blogs at The Flexible Fridge, enjoys her food on the spicy side, but she also likes her sauce pretty sweet, and this recipe calls for quite a bit of sugar. By this point, the character arcs, mysteries, and relationships of the characters had already been plotted. For example, the cast believes that had the show continued, both Wash and Zoe, as well as Simon and Kaylee, would have had babies. And Jane would have been stuck on babysitter duty, a sci-fi version of The Pacifier. In fact, the writers did devise several episode ideas that never saw the light of day. If you prefer your food to be less sweet and/or you're looking to cut down on the calories and carbs, you can feel free to reduce the sugar. They range in tone, from a madcap romp with puppies to one episode we're all very lucky never made it to air. The Dreadful Algebra of Space. Here's one episode that was discussed during the Science Channel's reunion special, Browncoats Unite. The crew was going to land on a wintry planet that is, in fact, dying. The inhabitants of the planet were going to try and steal Serenity in order to escape their planet. The townsfolk asked to come aboard. Likewise, you can either add or subtract to the red pepper to adjust the heat level to your preference. Now, let's take a closer look at how to make this delicious sweet chili sauce. Check your pantry for the necessary ingredients. While some versions of sweet chili sauce make use of flavoring ingredients such as fish sauce or sherry, Oleinka went with a simple, straightforward approach for this quick, easy recipe. All you'll need to make it are a few cloves of garlic, some sugar, crushed red pepper flakes. No need for anything too out of the ordinary here. The kind you sprinkle on pizza will work just fine, and rice vinegar. But the idea is, we're so far out that if we take them back we're going to run out of air, we're going to run out of food, we're all going to die, Fillion said. Unless we meet up with another ship. Oh, and you'll need a little bit of cornstarch that you'll use to thicken up the sauce as it's cooking. Prepare the garlic. There's only a tiny bit of prep work involved with this recipe, and it all revolves around the garlic. You'll first need to separate the cloves you need, then give each one a whack with the flat side of a knife. The skins will slip right off after that. So there's that chance. We could meet up with another ship, and everything would be okay. Mal would suggest they all sleep on the decision, and then he would take off in the night. It's too late to go back. We can't go back. Next, trim off the tips, then slice the smashed garlic into thin strips. And on our way back out, we never meet any ships, so we would have all died, Fillion said. We were all going to vote, and Captain Mal takes the decision away from everybody, so it's nobody's decision to kill all those people but his. It's a classic lifeboat question, something fantasy author Terry Pratchett called the dreadful algebra of necessity. Malcolm Reynolds never wanted anyone else to have to do that math. Dead or Alive exists in script form. Dead or Alive would have been the 15th episode of Firefly, but the show was cancelled before it could be filmed. Finally, mince the garlic strips as finely as you can. Some elements of the episode, whose script has been circulating on the internet for a while, were incorporated into the last episode filmed. The message, Dead or Alive, would have been about a former independent soldier, a subordinate of Mal and Zoe's named Declan Everton. Everton has been bombing Alliance targets, an act of terrorism that even the die-hard browncoat Mal can't accept. As Oleinka says, mince the garlic into small pieces. While we're all about the advanced prep work, in this case, it's best to mince the garlic right before you use it. That way, it won't lose any of its potency. The sauce won't take much time to cook. Scoop your minced garlic into a saucepan and add the sugar, red pepper, and vinegar. In the aftermath of one of Everton's bombings, the crew would try to find him before the Alliance. Meanwhile, Simon would try to save the life of an Alliance commander. The man would become suspicious of Simon's identity, and when he died, Simon would wonder whether he had subconsciously let the man die to protect his sister. Both Simon and Mal would have to confront how their former ideological purity had been worn away by their time on the Rim. One episode we're glad was never made. This unmade episode of Firefly would have put Joss Whedon's weird portrayals of women front and center. According to executive producer Tim Minear, this was one of the first stories Whedon pitched. Stir in 2 cups of water and a teaspoon of salt, then bring the mixture to a boil over medium-high heat. Allow it to boil for 5 minutes, watching and stirring occasionally to make sure it doesn't stick, scorch, or boil over. After the sauce has cooked for 5 minutes, mix the cornstarch with a tablespoon of water. It was foreshadowed in the pilot, when Inara looks at a syringe while the ship tries to hide from Reavers. Evidently, the concept was that this drug would cause anyone who sexually assaulted her to die, a horrible death. As Minear further explained in the reunion special, via Gizmodo, the story was that she gets kidnapped by Reavers, and when Mal finally got to the ship to save her from the Reavers, he gets on the Reaver ship and all the Reavers are dead. Stir this slurry into the sauce, then cook it for 3 more minutes until it's thickened up to your desired consistency. At this point, Olayinka tells us, it's ready to serve. Experiment with new ways to use this sauce. While sweet chili sauce is an Asian condiment, you don't have to stick to using it for Asian foods alone. Which would suggest a kind of really bad assault. Apparently this would be the final motivation. Mal would need to finally stop shaming Inara for being a sex worker. Sure, it makes a great dipping sauce for spring rolls and makes a tasty topping for noodles. You could also use it to marinate or baste roast pork or chicken, or as a sauce for chicken wings. At the end of the episode, Minear continued, Mal comes in after she's been horribly brutalized, and he comes in and he gets down on his knee, and he takes her hand. And he treats her like a lady. This has every bad take thrown into one episode. Sexual assault as backstory, disrespecting sex work, echoes of the negative portrayal of Native Americans in Westerns. A big yikes all around. Dog eat dog. What does it say about the last story that this next lost episode, about dogfighting, is a comparatively lighthearted romp? Alan Tudyk pitched this story as a sci-fi farce of sorts, with people running through the hallways of Serenity like the hallway of doors in an episode of Scooby-Doo. Alan Tudyk definitely pitched the most episodes, Fillion explained, on the reunion special. He had a great one where there were some criminals who engage in illegal dogfights, and there was a planet where one side of the planet was perpetual night. The crew would be tasked with catching a pack of feral space dogs and bringing them to the dogfighting arena. It also goes great with fish and shrimp, or you could mix it into cream cheese to make a dip. If you keep this sweet chili sauce in an airtight container and store it in your fridge, it should be good for a month or so. 6 cloves garlic, 1/2 cup sugar, 2½ tablespoons crushed red pepper, 1/4 cup rice wine vinegar, 1 teaspoon salt, 1 tablespoon cornstarch. Peel and mince the garlic. Combine garlic, sugar, red pepper, and vinegar in a saucepan with 2 cups water and 1 teaspoon salt. Bring the sauce to a boil over medium-high, then cook for 5 minutes. Mix the cornstarch with 1 tablespoon water until it forms a slurry, then stir into the sauce. Cook the sauce for 3 more minutes until it thickens up. Serve with dish of your choice. We had this dog pheromone of some kind, and Jane was messing around, and splat. The thing bursts and we're all covered in this pheromone, Fillion said. A big chase back to, and through, the ship would commence, that would only end when River communed with the dogs and made them too pacifist to fight. This is the stuff that Alan thinks about, Jewel State, who played Kaylee, said. Dogfights, mustaches, and tattoos. He's a strange man. Jane moves out. One storyline could have been 1 episode, or a longer arc. Jane becoming captain of his own ship. Jane was always proving his disloyalty to Serenity. He originally joined the crew by defecting from his old group for better pay. In Safe, he tries to turn in River and Simon for the reward money, and he tries to abandon Mal and Wash when they are kidnapped by interplanetary gangster Adeline Niska. As for the episode that could have emerged from this, Adam Baldwin explained the plot's potential on the Science Channel reunion special. His idea was that Jane would become captain of a rival ship, only to fail so miserably at it that he would come crawling back to Mal. Parallel or rival teams are always a fruitful thing to have in a story. The Simpsons has Shelbyville, which acts as a parallel universe to Springfield. Parks and Rec has the town of Eagleton, until the two merge. Ash from Pokemon is always being scooped by Gary of Pallet Town. And Shaun of the Dead has Yvonne's group going through their own parallel apocalypse. So this particular story definitely could have been interesting to see.